Nobody can hear me. Now the lights are green. The trap is clean. Everyone's going to start writing. Can't hear you. What I was saying was you guys are way too close. I had to push you guys back. You're way, 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 way too close for this early in the morning. And then I told you guys that it was the World Show. And then I told you guys that it was Gen X Talks. And then I told you guys that it was 10 o'clock Los Angeles time. And the only thing you saw was this. Anyway, so it's too confusing. What the hell? Listen, it is the World Show. Smoke signals went out late. Those of you on Patreon, the smoke signals went out a little bit late. And what Patreon is, the moderators can put up links for you guys. Patreon, it's $1 a month, and you get all the behind-the-scenes footage, but you get an email letting you guys know when we're going to go live on KGXT Radio. If we got a show coming up, we give you a reminder. Today it was late, but you get the idea. But Patreon's a good thing to have. Works all over the world, and that gives you just a reminder. It's a quick email with one sentence on there. Lets you guys decide what you want to do. All right, good. Well, now, with that being said, God, there's so much to talk about. We often... On the World Show with Gen X Talks, we apply common sense. Generation X, yes. We are Legion of X, yes. We are extras, yes. We tend to apply common sense to what's going on in every situation in the world. You know what's funny is that I notice it with myself, but then when I talk with you guys too, especially in person when we hang out and we discuss some things, it seems that our gut reaction is almost always the right reaction. Doesn't it seem that way to you guys? I mean, I use the example, O.J. Simpson was found not guilty. O.J. Simpson was found innocent. Therefore, O.J. Simpson did not kill his wife. Okay, whatever, man. Every person I know, every Gen Xer I know just went, whatever, man, he killed his wife. We all know. You know he did it. We know that. It doesn't matter what the media says and what the courts, with all their twisted facts and things they come in with, all the hype and the documentaries we've all seen. We get it now. We get how the jury got to that conclusion, but we were there already. We kind of just like, okay, whatever, man. He killed his wife. That's the way a lot of these things go with our generation, which is why Gen X Talks make so much sense, because we postulate, we figure things out left and right. You guys give me a lot of input. I give you what I'm thinking. Sometimes we get stuff wrong. We course correct. We come back. That's what happens. Nobody gets stuff right all the time. In fact, when you start arguing with a liberal, sometimes just say, hey, when was the last time you were wrong? Ask them that. When was the last time you got something wrong and you had to make a statement and make a course correction? They can't even tell you, because they just back up their stories with more stories. And if you pin them down, if you pin a liberal, hardcore liberal down on something they fucked up, they go, well, that's what the prevailing wisdom of the time was. That was what was being reported. Yeah, we know that. That's why you got to use your own brain on stuff. This leads into a conversation, and it's going to sound like I'm lecturing, and I'm not. Maybe I'm just reciting and I'm preaching to the choir. Maybe I'm reciting it just to hear myself talk. But it's difficult for us to have some of these political conversations when there are... Now, most of you guys I get along with great. Most of you guys, I either know you by name and conversation through here, emails, text messages, direct messages. A lot of you I've met in person. We've hung out. I mean, we know each other to some degree. We do. But there's always people that are in these live streams that come along after the live streams and watch them. And there's no winning a conversation. And you all see it, and you all know it, same as I do. Just take this thing with Biden. Recently, it's been totally exposed that he's not all there. And we've been talking about that for a long time, as everybody has. And the media comes along and says, well... You know, the staff, the Biden administration, they kept it from us. We didn't know. We weren't reporting lies. We weren't covering for the president. We didn't know. Yeah, you did. Of course you did. Everybody knows. Now, we may not know exactly to what degree, but everybody knows, and now you're lying to cover your ass. No credibility in the press. And it says Russia, Russia, Russia. Didn't turn out to be true. No credibility in the press. And they follow it up. Well, you know, there was the report and the thing, and where there's smoke, they still to this day back up their story. Everybody with common sense shakes their head and says, OJ killed his wife. You're a fucking idiot. And no credibility in the press. Same when we argue with liberals in here, and we argue with liberals in person. They don't know when the last time they made a mistake. They don't know when the last time they were wrong. They never admit they've had to have a course correction. I've had to have many course corrections. I don't know everything going on. And I can't stay, if you're in the news business, you better be news 24/7. I would love to be that guy. I do not have the time to be that guy. So I get into the topics that I can and discuss them as best I can. Then I learn from you guys. There's a lot of movement right now with China. My wife sends me stuff all the time, asking questions and giving me information. There's a ton of movement with China's Navy in the South China Sea near the Philippines. Didn't you say there was even some stuff going on up in Alaska? And they're breaching away from their maneuvers and doing some. And I just didn't have time to go. I want to go research it. I just don't have time. But back to the Biden story. You can't convince anybody until they're ready to be convinced themselves. You can show them truth, you can show them things, and they skip right over it. I got into an argument. I don't do this a lot. I got into an argument on Facebook with somebody. They posted a meme, and it was 4 pictures in one frame, and it says, "When you look like the painting you're visiting," and this woman was standing in front of a painting, a famous painting, and she very much looked like the painting. There was a guy standing in front of a painting, and he very much looked like the painting that was obviously hundreds of years old. And it was just, and the bottom one was a picture of Trump in front of Hitler. And all I did was write the word lame and moved on. I don't even know why I went back. I usually follow Joe Rogan's advice. Joe told me one day in a podcast to everybody, but I know he was speaking just to me. So Joe told me one day, he said, post and ghost. Don't even go back. Probably good advice. But I went back. And everybody on this page, which was liberal, started listing all of these things about Trump, hateful things about Trump. And just going down the list objectively, out of 19 things, I could find 16 that were just lies. And you can show them, you can say, well, this isn't true. This was proven not to be true. Why are you still saying it? They skip over your post or they delete it and they go right back to saying the same thing. They know this is the part I'm getting to. The media and far left liberals, they know they're lying. They know they're lying, and they do it anyway. It's like, look, I know Trump isn't the perfect guy, and I got some issues with him myself, but I'm not making up lies about him and then just skipping over the truth and going. You can bury someone in the truth and go. You are no longer allowed to say this thing. We've all proven. We've all agreed. Everybody in the room, what you're saying is a lie. Here's the truth. And the very next day, they'll go right back out like they never heard a word and say the lie again. But they want you to believe them. Remember, they're lying to convince you to join their movement, their side of things. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about Black Lives Matter, spending millions and millions of dollars behind the scenes for their own benefit, not really giving a shit about Black Lives Matter. You can show them that. You can prove them. You can give them receipts. And it breaks their heart that they're following something that isn't functional. The next day, they'll be right back out charging it up again. They don't care. So it's difficult for me. It was difficult for me to even come onto the air today. I wanted to see you guys. I wanted to see my friends. That's the main thing. And I like meeting new people. So when new names go by, I try to catch them. But I don't like how disingenuous the media is about anything on either side of the aisle. And it loses huge amounts of credibility. And people will point out all these mistakes that Fox made and Fox News. And, well, Hannity said this. And I keep trying to educate you guys on two things. In all news organizations, but especially Fox, there is a news desk and an opinion desk. Okay? There is news. Bret Baier is news. He's my favorite guy for news ever. And that man absolutely tries to get everything right. Hannity is news with opinion. It's a little bit sensationalized, and there's some drama that unfolds in getting his point across. And I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying he's not the news desk. You guys listening here? It's not the news desk. So when you list me, well, you can list CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, and they have all these things that you're like, oh my God, there's 17,000 huge lies. And they say, yeah, you guys are all fucked up. Quit watching that. Well, no, look at Fox News. Here's 11 things they did, and they lied, and they got, okay, I will tell you that if you want to compare them and put them on the scale of justice, it's not even going to be close. But now we're back to the lying. Well, it doesn't matter if Fox News told one lie, that's all the lies. They're all liars. Let's just admit they're all the same, shall we? When you catch a Democrat who's a senator, congressman in a lie, and you pin, well, you know, let's just all agree that all senators lie, that all congressmen lie. If you guys hear that excuse, if you hear someone say that in an argument, they've lost. And they're trying to drag the other side with them. Well, okay, it was kind of fucked up. Let's just say it's all fucked up, shall we? Shall we say that it's all fucked up? You know, like fuck them both. You know, it's Trump and Biden. You know, they're both equally awful. No, they're not. They both may be awful. They both may tell lies. But I will go along with maybe perhaps the guy who tells a lie about how many people showed up to his rally. I think I'd go with that lie versus the guy who lies about his policies and how they promise they won't endanger everybody and ruin the economy, and then they do. Well, they both lie. Okay. If I agree with you, I'm taking those lies. Lesser of two evils, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't matter because right now, bringing this in full circle, let me bring you guys back around to where we ended up. If the far left is lying all the time, if the media is lying all the time, when they finally get caught and everybody loses credibility, that's when things turn. That's the moment that you lose momentum in a campaign. We're talking about Biden at the moment. We're talking about Biden, but it can be any campaign anywhere. But everyone's coming to me right now asking for my opinion on how this is all playing out because in typical fashion, 4 or 5 days after the debate debacle, did you guys see what comes across your news feed on your phone? Hey, polls are looking up. Turns out Biden didn't suffer the damage everybody thought. Trump's numbers are faltering. It's all these stories to try to get the narrative, to get the story back where it was. But the damage has been done. What damage? What did we just talk about? There are so many people I know that are on the left, that are friends of mine, that are Democrats on the left, and they're like, I just don't believe him anymore. Because once the general populace, once your constituents, once your voters realize you've been lying to them, they may just not vote at all. I'm not saying they'd vote for Trump. I'm not saying you turned everybody into his camp, but they get wounded. They get hurt. They know that you lie, but you lied to them. Now you're lying to me. Follow me on that. Pay attention because we're talking about street level. You guys want to know what it's like to look out your front door at street level and see what's going on, not filtered through the news, not filtered through social media. Just have a guy tell you what I see out there. I see a lot of Democrats that got wounded and injured by the admission of the lies. And normally the press and the Democrats, they just lie in a general statement. But when they tell you specifically as a voter, as a follower, as a constituent, don't worry, he's fine. The media comes out, don't worry, we have the inside skinny on this. Biden's fine. Everything's okay. And then they turn around and say, it's not okay. Then they turn around and admit, okay, we've been hiding. We've been covering this up. We didn't want you to know. And we were embarrassed, or it's for the good of the country, whatever. People finally, they can't go to their local bar anymore and argue. Because now the next time you go to the bar and sit down, the buddy you've been arguing with for a year sits down and goes, ha, so I was right the whole time. Biden's got problems, just like I told you. You just put 20 million people in a position where they have to go to family barbecues and try to keep defending their position which was based on you lying, and now you've just admitted you're lying. Now, all of the people that have gone out and gone to bat and around the water cooler at the office building have been strongly standing up for you and your lies and your deception. Now they have to go back and go, well, yeah, okay, I guess you were right. Things aren't so good. You set them back. The loss of momentum. There's pictures I could show you. I'm not going to get to them or not, about world leaders that aren't interested in talking to Biden. They know Trump's going to win. The Democrats have pulled funding. George Clooney and all these people saying he's got to be a different guy, a different way. George Clooney came out and said, yes, we lied at the fundraiser. We told you that he was great, that we met him, that we talked. It was wonderful. It was all a lie. It wasn't like that. It was horrible. What you guys saw at the debate, we saw for 4 hours straight. It was all bullshit. We've been lying this whole time. In my humble opinion, once you do that to the American people, and maybe Republicans and conservatives don't care, but once you did it to the people that have been standing up for you, they've been going to bat for CNN, they've been going to bat for Biden, they've been going to bars and barbecues and to work every day, they argue with their Uber drivers. And they stand up for this, that everything's fine. His policies are good. He's on the ball. He's sharp. Everything's good. And they dodge every discussion why he hasn't had a cabinet meeting in 9 months. Well, he's got some stuff. He doesn't need to. He's got things going. And they tell every lie to get around and twist. And they're holding it for you, man. They're holding the fort. Then you kick the stool out from under them. And you wonder why they don't just come back in droves, and you wonder why the Democrats really, Nancy Pelosi looks, well, why is all of the support all of a sudden failing? What happened? You did something you don't normally do. You stepped on the people that were supporting you. You made them look foolish. You made them look horrible with the way you conducted this whole thing. Gen X Mom, I know you had your hand up for a minute, but I had to finish my thought. Is there anything you'd like to add?
David Bradshaw says, if everyone is bending the truth, what is the option?
That's tough. Where is he from, David?
YouTube.
Oh, David over on YouTube says, if everyone's bending the truth, what's the option? What did we start with? Generation X trying to apply some old school common sense. Does that sound right? You got to see, that's a difference. And I get caught up in this too. I do, especially with family, with kids. When you want to believe something, your first thought is, well, that sounds right to me. That sounds pretty good. Oh, that sounds reasonable. I think we're all on the same page there. Let's go ahead. But if you're not behind the movement, if you're not behind the idea, you tend to look at it a little more honestly. And sometimes you say, okay, I could get behind that. That sounds all right. And sometimes you, no, that doesn't sound, something doesn't sit well with me with that. If you can look at things objectively, a lot of times what I said in the very beginning, often your first reaction is the correct one. Now, I'm not trying to quote Nietzsche and Coming to America, but some people know that you have to sit on a swing in a backyard in a red costume to know what's going on. All right.
All right. Rocketfish72 YouTube, new member. Can we talk about how the 25th Amendment works? Is it the only real option here?
Well, it's the 25th Amendment's it's really not that deep of a topic. The framework is that the Senate or the House can file articles of impeachment based on competency. And here's the problem with a lot of these things, and it's not just, boy, you're going to get me on another topic. It's how do you implement it? And you're going to get really mad. A lot of you are going to get so boiling mad, you're going to smash your phone when you hear this. But if you really start reading the Constitution and the mechanisms in place, there's a lot of missing gaps in things, and this is my opinion. I've listened to people way smarter than me for a long time, and boy, okay, I'm going to try to explain this to you guys, and you're going to get mad. How many times have you guys heard a politician and say, well, you know what? That was my fault. The buck stops here. What about Benghazi with Hillary Clinton when she finally says, oh, you know, decisions were made and the buck stops, or Obama. Well, I was the president during that time. I guess the buck stops with me. I'm the guy responsible. So what happened to Hillary? Nothing. What happens to Obama? What happens to any politician in the House, in the Senate, even people that were just appointed? Yeah, that's right. Things got fucked up, but the buck stops here. You want to be mad at somebody, you point the finger right at me. All right, we're pointing the finger at you. Do they resign? Do they get fired? Nothing happens. And there are gaps, it seems to me, in a lot of the things like the 25th Amendment. It's like, okay, let's file articles of impeachment. And then, well, how do you get a test? Does he have to obey the test? Does he have to follow? If let's say the Senate and the House came together 100% and said, we don't think you're competent, you got to go, and we're going to have somebody run a cognitive test on you. And then Biden goes, no, I don't feel like doing it. Well, you have to, right? I mean, if the Congress says this is the direction we're going, don't you have to comply? Is that the rule? Yeah. 50 years ago, whether you liked it or not, when Congress did something, you were obligated to go, to respond. How many times has the FBI not given files that were written requested? I'm Congress. Give me the fucking file. We'll get to it later. We'll turn over that information when we declassified. I'm on the security committee in Congress. Hand me the fucking file. You can go knock on the door. They're not going to give it to you. They do not do what Congress says. This is something that I think everyone in the news organizations has overlooked. I haven't heard one story about it ever. Perhaps I'm wrong. Right now I'm the only guy thinking this way. That we have cultivated an environment where people don't have to comply. How many times has the FBI not given up paperwork? How many times have senators and congressmen smashed their phones, deleted things? No, you want that? Yeah, if I feel like giving it to you, there's no consequences. So people do what they want. Congress used to carry weight. Oh, when I was a young man, Congress carried weight. If there was a congressional hearing, you were worried. Do you know that you don't even answer questions in congressional hearings anymore? I've seen people walk up and had senators ask them questions, say, I'm not talking about that here. But that's why you were called him. I'm not talking about that. Ask me something else. Used to be you get thrown in jail. Fine. Don't answer the questions. You go sit in a holding cell till you feel like talking. Well, what weight does Congress have anymore when we allow people to not answer questions, when we allow organizations to not give up documents that Congress has ordered? Go one further. What have we seen in the last 2 years? The Supreme Court, the absolute law of the land, they're not the law, they're interpreting, but they're the final decision. And people go, well, I still think they're wrong. I'm gonna maneuver around this. Well, you can't. You can't do that. The Supreme Court just said so. It's this. And you tell the FBI, go enforce that right now. Go take care of that right now. Go do that. They have to comply. And the FBI goes, nah, I don't agree with it either. Now we got other stuff we're doing right now. We're busy. What good does it do if we have all of these frameworks in place? If people are going to do what they want anyway, disobey and disrespect anyway, and in the end they're not going to answer questions, and at the very when the actual train does get to the end of the line, they don't get punished anyway. They don't get punished for not complying, for not listening, for not obeying, for not submitting the documents, for not answering questions. Nothing happens. So who cares? And it's a long walk for me on that conversation to get around to, well, we have the 25th Amendment. Can't we just, if it was up to 3 people, maybe 3 senators could get together and say, yeah, you're incompetent. You're going to run a test. If you don't run the test, you're out anyway. You have 2 choices. Either take the test and pass it, or if you don't take the test, you're out. You're not the president anymore. Now, a mechanism like that would be pretty simple. And don't even make it 3 people. Make it all. Say you needed a majority. But there are so many things, and this is getting back to what I started with, there's so many things in our system that there's gaps in Well, what happens if the president doesn't take the test? What happens if the articles of impeachment against Clinton just sit in the Senate and don't go anywhere because there's a rule that Chuck Schumer can just set them on his desk? He can get to them when he wants, and he waits till Clinton's out of office, and now he doesn't go any further. What happens when the FBI doesn't give the documents? Well, do you know why there's quite a few gaps? Now, there are fine lines I've heard written where things would happen, but who's going to enforce them? The people you say, go enforce this. Put that person in a holding cell till they talk to us. We're Congress. They're like, nah, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to put them in there. You can do it if you want. I'm not doing it. All of these unenforceable gaps, all of the buck stops here, no consequences for anything anybody's doing. Where does that leave you? There's no gap. There's gaps. There's no continuity in all this. There are gaps. And then I started to figure out why, or I tried to figure out why. I know this is going to sound nostalgic, and I know it's going to sound whimsical to some people, because there is letters of the law to follow to get, but they're not strict. They're very broad. They give a lot of room for personal interpretation. It's because back when all of this is my opinion. I didn't hear this anywhere but me, so I could be completely wrong. But follow me on this and see what you think. Why do so many of these gaps exist? Why do so many of these steps to do something what the FBI doesn't and the person doesn't talk and the thing? Why are they even there? Why are they present? Because, in my opinion, when this was all written down at the beginning of our country, there was a common known aspect in all of our founding fathers as well. You know, if you get down the farther road with the impeachment, you step down. Do the right thing for the country. If you got this far along, you got to step down. If the FBI doesn't give up the documents, and well, should we put him in jail? Should we grab the guy? Should we burst in the? Yeah, you could, but the FBI is not going to hold back documents. They got to, even if they hate the guy, they hate the president, they got to give up. They got to do the right thing. I mean, at that level of government, your responsibility is so great. Of course, you're gonna obey. You're gonna comply. Why wouldn't you? I think there was a lot of that built in. It's like, well, you can write down what happens if they don't comply, but they're going to. I mean, we're at this magnitude. You couldn't survive if you didn't do that. I mean, even the Democrats and Republicans would all gang up on you. Whoa, whoa, whoa! You got to do this, but they don't. How did we get here? Do you want my other opinion? How many times have you guys seen those little memes of a teacher in a school like in the 50s where the student brings an apple to the teacher? It says 1955 and the student brings the apple to the teacher, and the panel right next to it says 2024 and the student brings a gun. How many times have you seen those things where the teacher says your child is doing poorly, and in the 50s you went home and smacked the shit out of your kid and said, you're going to do better, you're going to respect that teacher, and you're going to pay attention in class, and you're going to get good grades. And in 2024, the teacher says your kid's not doing well. The parents come in, well, it's your fucking problem. Don't touch my kid. Don't yell at my kid. My kid has rights. The kid can stand up and go, I don't want to be in class. I don't want to answer your question, teacher. I don't want to. And I have the right to be an individual and stand up for myself. And you're racist if you tell me different. So I'm going to stand here and be me. And they do that at a grocery store. They steal. They do that at a fast food restaurant. All those videos of them smacking people around. I can do it if I want to. I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to go by the rules. We've created a culture where people are moving that way every day. Like, society doesn't matter, so I'll fuck up in school. You can't punish me. I'll fuck up at a grocery store. I'll steal at Walmart. I'll knock shit over. I have the right to be me. And then we've been doing this for so long, we're shocked when the FBI, people in the FBI go, I don't want to do that. You can't make me. I'm not going to do it. I know what the rule is, but look at me. I'm such a strong individual for standing up to the government, standing up to the rules. Boy, am I somebody. I'm powerful. I'm for the small. No, you're just an asshole fucking everything up. Same as the chick who knocks everything over at Walmart. You're disrupting the normal flow of society that we've all kind of agreed to. I'm just telling you, when you talk about the 25th Amendment, there's a lot that goes through my head with that. I'm sorry if I wandered off the reservation. Yeah, Gen X Mom.
Well, two people have questions about the 25th. Something else.
Yeah.
John Morgan says, doesn't it take Kamala now to get the 25th to go through? And Dan Daniel says, doesn't the VP have to start the 25th before he can be removed? So they're both asking the same question.
I would have to say I don't know that part of the mechanism. My memory is no. And I haven't dove into that in so many years. No, I think the articles of impeachment to test the competency can start in the House or the Senate. And I do believe that the vice president has to sign off on the direction it's going before it could get there. So, again, Joe Biden could be in a coma in a hospital, and there's no way the left would run down that course. They would not do it unless they had another ulterior motive. If they knew for sure Gavin Newsom wanted in, if they knew for sure Gavin Newsom could win, then you see all these things start to play out. And here's what's the funny part about between the left and the right. Typically, the Republican idea in mind, the conservative idea is, all right, I got caught stealing, or I got caught lying, or I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar, and I got to quit what I'm doing here. I'm going to do the honorable thing for the country and step down. And it's my experience, especially like right now, everybody knows that Biden shouldn't be there. Everybody knows. This is common knowledge. We all got it. But the only time, why aren't the Democrats saying, well, for the good of the country, we have to make a change? I don't know if we're going to win or lose this election. I'm not sure who, but we have to make a change for the good of the country. This is the right decision. They're not saying that. But when they finally get their pieces in place, well, do we get Obama, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama? Do we get Gavin Newsom? Who do we bring in here? When they finally get their playbook together, someone will say, okay, we got it together. Go tell the American people. Oh, by the way, make sure that you're saying we're now doing it for the good of the country, for the betterment of everybody. This is the right thing to do. They'd already be doing that. But all of a sudden, when they're making this change, it'll be, you'll see the emotion on TV. Well, hardest thing to do was to tell Biden he had to go, and just, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but it's the right thing to do for the country. No, it's the right thing to do now. You're not doing it. You're only going to do the right thing. You're only going to push those things down the road when you have a solution in your mind. Then all of a sudden, you're not doing it for self-preservation. You're not doing it for power. No. Now you're doing it because it's automatically the right thing to do. Yeah, Gen X Mom.
John Nunez Jr. on Facebook. What about them using the Fifth Amendment in instances like this?
The Fifth Amendment to not incriminate yourself. Trying to lily pad that one to where you're standing.
All right.
That might be a tough one for me. But
right.
If you're using the Fifth Amendment, like, I'm going to take the Fifth Amendment because if I speak, I'm going to prove that I'm incompetent. Okay, I could go along with that. Wouldn't that prove your incompetency, though? But if you're smart enough to use the Fifth Amendment, maybe not. Okay, you got me in a big circle and I don't know where to go. I am a dog in the living room chasing his tail with that one. Go ahead.
Kirsten Joy on Facebook. That's exactly how public school works now. No consequences. We're screwed up educating our kids. Teachers have no support.
Yeah, it's very tough along those lines. Yeah, Gen X Mom.
Jeffrey Montgomery, why does the executive branch get to decide which laws it's going to enforce? Imagine a bouncer not breaking up a fight or not kicking someone out of that establishment.
Well, that's the whole point. That's exactly the point. And I think every administration does this, but the idea, I wish everyone just would follow the laws like they did years and years ago and say, well, this sucks, but we got to follow the law. Without rules, we're nothing. I think that is the biggest change from when I was a kid to right now, is that the parties, not only are they divided, we can talk about all that stuff, but it's the fact that they know they don't have to answer questions. You can tell the buck stops with me. They're not going to get in trouble in Congress. You can be responsible for people dying, and nobody is going to enforce anything upon you while their party's in power. That's the very question you asked, is why do they pick and choose what rules they enforce? Yeah, right now, there's laws on the books right now that would close the border. There is laws that were written by great men years ago that would secure the southern border and protect America. Don't follow them. And when you take an administration to court, which Texas has done, which Florida has done, and said, you're not following the law, well, it all depends on who appointed those judges. Are they liberal judges? Are they conservative judges? And eventually it works its way up to the Supreme Court, who doesn't hear every case. What do you want them to say? Yes, enforce the law. I mean, they heard the case. Go, yeah, we agree with you. They're supposed to be enforcing the law, but they can't knock on the door at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And go, hi, we're the Supreme Court. We just settled the case. You're not following some of the laws here, so we need you to get some cops and get down there on the border. There's no mechanism for the Supreme Court to make you do it. Again, how do they make you responsible? Biden could stand there and say, Biden could go out on TV tonight and say, every death that has been committed by an illegal person coming across the border is on me. It's my fault. So, what are you, noble because you admitted that? Are you a hero? Are you look what a strong man Biden is to come out on TV and take responsibility. You know, the only time it matters when you take responsibility, the only time you're noble, the only time you're showing your character when you take that sort of responsibility is when you know there's consequences. How many times would you go out and say, no, I'll go admit to this. Okay, it's my fault. I fucked this up, but you're sure nothing's going to happen to me, right? No, nobody's going to prosecute me. Nobody's coming after. We're good. Okay. Yes, I did this. I made a mistake and it went wrong. You guys warned me, but I thought I knew better. It got all messed up. It's on me. And I apologize. We need to move forward as a country. You tell the guy, hey, you go out there and admit you did this. You admit you're responsible. You're removed from office and you're going to jail. And they're going to sell your house. Do you think that motherfucker's going to go out there and claim anything? Not on your life. But there's no consequences. From grade school to the Senate, there's no consequences. Admit you did it. Take responsibility, and then what? It passes you over. Gen X Mom.
Be the Miracle on YouTube says, why should we follow the laws of our government if our government doesn't?
Well, because we shouldn't. Why should we? But they'll arrest you and put you in jail, and when you say, they did it, why can't I do it? Oh, they didn't do it. You don't know all the circumstances between why that senator was with underage girls and child pornography. There was more circumstance, and we're litigating that. There's prosecution, but you did it. You're going to jail today. You're never going to be able to compare, your crime or whatever they're accusing you of versus their crime, whatever they're accusing them. It could be tax evasion. It doesn't matter. They're going to have a story that muddies the water. They've got the press. And what are we back to? Let's say it was tax evasion. You committed tax evasion, you're going to jail. They perform a little bit of tax evasion, and who's going to prosecute them? The people that prosecute you don't want to prosecute them. They have cover. They have friends. We'll get to it. We have 1,700 cases stacked up on my desk, and the senator for his tax evasion, he's in there somewhere. But your paperwork is over on Roger's desk, and Roger's only got 5 of them, and so he's going to prosecute all 5. We're getting to it. There's so many ways. There's no consequences. So what does it matter? In fact, the only time you'll see any real severe consequences in a politician is if a Republican or a Democrat does something, commits some crime, can be small, but they are a powerful person and the other side wants them out. If the Democrats see a Republican, it's like, oh, I think you lied on your form there, buddy. We're going to throw everything at you to get you out. The Republicans would do it to a Democrat. If they're powerful, if they count, if knocking them down helps the other team. Other than that, they walk. Yeah, Gen X Mom.
Rob Kellenberger made a comment on Facebook. I remember a time when everyone kept who they were voting for to themselves.
There was a time, yeah. You're seeing it more prevalent now that people, that's when they say, well, tell me about yourself. If I introduced myself to, or introduced 2 people through people that I knew and say, well, this is Joe and this is Roger, and you guys meet, and Joe may say, oh, I'm a mechanic and I'm a father of 3 and I live in Nevada. And Roger may come up and say, oh, well, I'm a Democrat and I voted for Black Lives Matter and I marched with Antifa. That's how you define yourself? And think about it for yourself. How do you tell people, how do you describe people, when you describe yourself to people when you meet them? What's the most important thing? Your wife, your children, your religion, where you live? Some people start with where they live. I live in a little holler in a 1985 Comfort travel trailer in a holler back up in Kentucky. That's where they start with their conversation. Then they tell you about themselves. But most people start with their political affiliation. Why? Because most people decide right at that moment if they're going to be friends with you. True story.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Jordan Holloway on Facebook. What do you think of Project 2025?
Well, there's so much in there. Let me jump over here. I think I got something we can talk about. This is one of the most common things I've seen. I'll go to the drag and drop section of the program. Let me enlarge that. We see that Trump's picture's on there. Okay, we don't need that. We can don't.
Still bottom of the Glass Nation on there?
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I wasn't going to use this page. Don't. You know what, woman? Don't ever sass me in front of my friends, okay?
Got you.
I'm in front of my friends. Don't make fun of me, Mom.
Don't talk to me like that.
So there's a couple things before we get into it on there. So let me back out of that screen. We'll get to that in a second. Trump has denied, in typical Trump fashion, 2025. I don't even know what that is. I have no idea who's behind that project, when, of course, he does. Of course, he knows who's behind it. He knows what it's, but he's not endorsing it. You know, he's always come out and said, oh, I don't know. That's not mine. Now, there's boy, I'm going to get this confused. So the Heritage Foundation comes up with this idea for Project 25. All right. And they have a list of things that they would like to do on the Republican conservative side if a Republican gets into office. A lot of it has to do of shifting power absolutely to the executive branch. Okay, let me just say that as a broad statement. But because there are some I like some of the things that are in there. I like some of the Project 2025 stuff going, oh, that would be a great thing. So these memes, these pictures, like the one I'm going to show you, they lie. They come out and exaggerate, and they make a point on here that you can't agree with. You could not agree. They've mixed in out of 30 things, they mix in 7 that you go, I cannot do that. And then they go one step further and say, well, this is what Trump wants to do. Well, no, it's a Republican idea that has some support from Republicans, from conservatives, and they present it like this is something we would really like to see happen if a Republican gets to be president. And then the left, the liberals, go, oh, well, we'll exaggerate this. We'll lie about that. We'll take this out of context and go, wow, you guys are fucked up. How could you want those things? And then average people go, whoa, yeah, I don't like that stuff. That's not right. Well, it's because they changed it. They completely lied. Well, this is what you guys want to do. You're a bunch of fucked up assholes. This is what you guys want to do. And Trump's behind it. This is his project. And Trump's going, not my project. The 2025 people are looking at it going, this is not what we said, but it's too late. It's out there. Let me go back to that picture. Let's talk about some, because this is some of the things in here. Why? What's the first one? Now remember, this is not from the Heritage Foundation. This is not their official. This is just a meme that goes out there that filters out on every platform, and it's got one thing. It does 2 things, but it's got one goal: to kill it, to show you that Trump is in favor of a bunch of bullshit, racist, horrible ideas, and Republicans are awful people. So let's read it. End no-fault divorce. There's parts of that I agree with. I hate that people can just get a divorce for no reason. There used to be a time when divorce was very taboo, and that was a stigmatism. You're divorced? You're divorced? You couldn't make it work? There's a couple things that go along with that. You tend to pick better people because you're afraid of getting divorced. You don't want to get divorced. Divorce isn't a good thing. Divorce is a bad thing. You guys think of it as just like dating on steroids. If it doesn't work out, it's nobody's fault. It's no fault divorce. We're just not getting it. Doesn't matter if there's kids involved or not. If you got rid of no-fault divorce, people would take getting married much more seriously because there's consequences if you get divorced. Nowadays, it's just like, no, there's no trouble getting divorced. Get divorced if I want to. Start my life over. I don't care. You don't own me. I'm an individual. There's no consequences. I'll do whatever I want. Other than the personal, emotional consequences that go along with the divorce, you pretty much can do what you want. Everybody stays out of it. Complete ban on abortions without exceptions. Not even close to what Project 2025 wants. And I didn't read every paragraph, but I read in this section, I read the first 3. Not even close to what it says. I disagree with that. I think there are exceptions that need to be considered for an abortion. I would not support that. Ban contraceptives. Nope, I would not ban contraceptives. Additional tax breaks for corporations in the 1%. Okay, who in their right mind would write that? I mean, what kind of a moron on the left goes, oh my God, can you believe that's what all the Republicans want? Do you think anybody would come out and say, I think rich people should pay less? Even if that's what you really thought, you wouldn't say it out loud, and you certainly wouldn't write it fucking down. Again, this is not a real thing. This is to show that Republicans and conservatives are assholes, and Trump's doing it. Elimination of unions and worker protections. I never want to eliminate worker protections. I don't want to eliminate unions, but I totally disagree with the power that unions have in politics. That part is horrible, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't have an answer for you. But here in California, the teachers union pretty much can decide a lot of what goes on in politics. That's it. They've given themselves a PERS program where when they retire, they're making 100% of what they made while teaching. Do you guys get that? How many places get that? How many places get 100%? Well, they voted for themselves. This is what we want, and the state has to approve it, but they tell the state what to do, so the state did. They got their money down the road motors. I think the influence, I would never want to get rid of protection for workers, but that's what they say when you're like, look, I'm trying to break up your fucking union because you're too powerful, you're one-sided, and you're just in there for yourselves. And they come back, oh, so you don't like workers? So you want to break us up so that working families are unsafe and unprotected? Well, no, I like that part of it, but you're still a fucker. How do you separate church and state? Anyway. What's another one? Raise the retirement age, cut Social Security, nope. Cut Medicare, nope. End the Affordable Care Act. Yeah, I would sure cripple it where it didn't put a burden on people, the individual that just wanted to kill it. That was one thing that Trump was working on. He signed that executive order that the individual mandate went away, and that crippled the Affordable Care Act. I want everybody to have health insurance, but until you can show me how it's paid for, that's a tough one. Eliminate the Department of Education. Yes, I wish there was. I don't think abortion should be a national issue. Let each state decide. Education, let each state decide. There's so many things that the states should have total control over themselves. There's so many things like that. Education for me is one of them. Raise prescription drug prices. Yeah, I'm all for raising prescription. I'm so glad they wrote that down. I'm so glad that conservative Republicans had meetings after meetings and said, look, we have to tell everybody we want to raise drug prices. And you guys, and the left will look at this and go, this is what Trump wants to do. Did you read all this stuff? This is what he wants to do. He wrote it down and the Republicans went along with it. It says right there, raise prescription drug prices. Even if you wanted to, you wouldn't write that down. There's no fucking way that's right. This is the kind of, I can't do this anymore. I really can't. I don't even want to go through the list. Read the list. That meme is everywhere on the internet. Go read it and just use your common sense. Don't listen to anybody on radio or TV. Don't even listen to me. Just read it and go, does that really sound like something a presidential candidate would run out there and screaming, look what I'm doing. This is what I want to do when I get in office. Everybody read this and then vote for me. It's lies. It's twisted. It's bent. It's fucked up. It's not true. I'm just telling you, I'm angry about that. Yeah, Gen X mom.
Ryan King on Facebook. So, what if Gen X were a party? What kind of party would we be?
Well, if Gen X were a party, setting joking aside, if you had a group at the top to represent Generation X, there would be a lot of generosity, tempered. As you went along, there would be a lot of generosity that was tempered with criticism of being critical of how you doled out that generosity. There would always be a way to use common sense to apply towards the laws. If Generation X really was in charge with no joking, you would have a group of people that said, we are trying to see, Generation X would teach you that it's better to give a hand up to a man, give him a hand up in life and get him going, than give him a handout. And then next week, give him another handout. And then next week, give him another handout. My generation, if you get the right people at the top, would say, listen, we'll take care of you. Here's your handout. Your family's fed, but you need to get up and get working. We'll train you. We'll get you going. There's a different mentality there. There's a different mentality for, it's like, well, don't you want everybody to have health care? Yeah, but we don't know how to pay for it, so we can't do it. We got to work on that. We wouldn't say, of course we're compassionate. Of course we want these things. We would return a lot of power to the states. Generation X would close the border, seal it 100%. We'd put the military down there and go, borders closed till we sort this out. Then we would sweep through the country door to door and take everybody out who was bad for the country. If you committed murder, if you committed a crime, if you were an illegal here and you stole, if you raped, if you robbed, if you burglarized, you're fucking gone. And you know how the left would present it. Look at these Nazis going door to door with their guns. Look at them. They're just racists. That's all they would say. You can have a perfectly legitimate thing of trying to save the country. Good people, illegal, good people stay, illegal, bad people go. Keep it that simple, and you would still have the left going, look at these neo-Nazis. They're just racing through the streets, throwing people out. They're just horrible people. Doesn't matter how you spin it. Common sense would reign supreme on a lot of decisions, but there would absolutely be cut and dry things in Generation X if we ran stuff. Be like, sorry, don't care about your feelings. This is right. That's wrong. Let's move forward. Yeah, Gen X mom.
I don't want to raise your blood pressure, but Snowflake's Nightmare is the name. I beg to differ. Do for you or go without?
Do for you or go without?
That's what they're saying.
Do for you or go without. Am I missing the context there? Because, yeah, I don't feel that way. I do for a lot of people around me. I'll tell you what, I learned that my wife's example is the biggest one there.
Continued on. Stop taking our money from those that do and give to those that don't get out the damn bed till noon.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I wasn't going to raise my blood pressure. I don't like socialism. I don't like it at all. Margaret Thatcher said the problem with socialism is pretty soon you run out of other people's money. And that's the Democrat. That's the Democrats. That's what they stand on. Hate the rich. We will go get their money and we'll give it to you. You pay less taxes. We'll go get the tax money from them. That's their whole thing is, don't worry, we'll take care of you on this. You can all get a participation ribbon. Next year, you can all get a participation trophy. We'll take their rules and scale them down and make new rules so you feel better. We'll take their money so you feel better. I'm agreeing with that guy. Not my blood pressure up unless I'm missing something. I agree with that wholeheartedly. If there's nothing else, I need to wrap this up. Just something else?
Amanda on Facebook, what about AIPAC? AIPAC?
Yeah, a whole nother topic. I don't have time for that today, but good question. Listen, it's 7 minutes till. We started a few minutes early. I got to tell you, I'm hurting right now. I got this thing that hit me with my chest today, And the more I'm talking and the more I'm breathing, the worse it's getting. I don't want to pass out. Be good for ratings if I just keel over right here live, but I don't want to do that to you guys. I didn't want to miss today. I like talking with my friends. I like talking with you guys. As you can tell, this is an exchange of stuff. And I gave you my thoughts. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I'm not going to agree with everything you say. The bottom line is that I'm the guy who we can sit down and have a beer and talk about stuff. That's the important part. If you're so dead set of like, nope, I'm never talking to a conservative Republican ever, fuck it, I'm going to go my way, then fine. Guess what? Leave the fucking channel, unsubscribe, and go away. But you can also be the person who's left, who's a Democrat, who's like, let's find some common ground and stay. That's what I'm encouraging you to do. I'm just letting you guys know common sense should prevail. And I'll tell you, I wish we could go back to when I was younger. There was some lifestyle moments back then in the day about how men and women treated each other and how we talked to each other and how we got to common ground that I very much miss. And for all the things that have gone along, I think a lot of those things have been ruined in culture. And I do think it's salvageable. Everybody says it's not, but societies change all the time, either through people coming together and making big changes, or civil war is making things change. Don't tell me that it's just going to get worse forever, because it won't. At some point, that finally snaps under its own weight and things have to change. That's where I'm at with stuff. Listen, I got to go. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you had an hour of your day to waste, thank you for choosing to waste it here with Gen X Talks. The World Show is a lot of political stuff. Next week, we're going to go into a lot of the stuff geographically, what China's doing geographically, and some of the things that have hit the news in the last week has been stuff I've been telling you and predicting, once again, through people smarter than me, but I'm listening, for over a year, and here it is happening. There's other stuff. There's other stuff around the globe that's going on that we need to tune into and figure out. What about the elections in France? What about the elections in the UK? How are those things swaying and moving? You guys all have border problems down there. Did they just get better or did they just get worse? You guys have to open your front door and tell me. I'm not over there. I have to listen to the BBC. I'd rather listen to you. Grab your cup of coffee, open up your front door, tell me what's going on so I can understand it. The same way I explain it to you guys. Nuts and bolts, street level stuff. Thanks again for tuning in. AM, FM, Sirius XM, or perhaps on the Armed Service Radio Network. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
We'll catch you guys on the flip side.